Picture this. A retailer runs a 10% increase in demand for 1 week. Just 1 week. They reorder 20% more from their distributor because they want safety stock. The distributor, seeing a 20% increase in orders 40% more from the manufacturer for the same reason. The manufacturer, seeing a 40% spike, runs 3 extra shifts and builds 60% more inventory. 6 weeks later, demand is back to normal. The retailer has too much product. The distributor has too much product. The factory is sitting on 3 months of excess inventory and wondering what the hell just happened. What happened is the bullwhip effect, and it's destroying your supply chain right now, whether you know it or not. Hello, my name is Todd Hagopian, the original Stagnation Assassin, author of The Unfair Advantage and The Stagnation Assassin on Amazon. And today on the Stagnation Assassin MBA, we are cracking open supply chain management and the bullwhip effect. I'm going to tell you what they teach you in the program, what they leave out, and what you actually need to know if you're running a real business in the real world. The bullwhip effect is one of the most costly and least understood supply chain phenomena in operations at all. It wastes cash, it destroys service levels, it creates the inventory problems that the working capital episode addressed earlier, and it operates largely invisibly until you know exactly what to look for. Let's look at the textbook version first. Here's what the textbook is going to tell you in the program. And to be fair, again, it's not wrong. The bullwhip effect was first formally identified and named by Hao Li and Mr. Padmanabhan and Senghyun Wang in a 1997 Sloan Management Review article. They described the phenomenon of demand variability amplification as orders move upstream through a supply chain. Small fluctuations in consumer demand produce increasingly larger fluctuations in production and procurement orders at each tier of the supply chain. Lee and his colleagues identified 4 root causes: demand signal processing. Each tier adds safety stock based on observed order variability, not actual demand. Rationing game behavior. Buyers order more when they need, or more than they need when supply is scarce, but then they cancel. Order batching, periodic rather than continuous ordering creates artificial demand spikes. And price variation. Promotions cause forward buying that obscures real demand. The academic literature since has confirmed that the bullwhip effect is universal across industries and supply chain structures. It is not a failure of specific companies, but a structural feature of sequential ordering systems that have information delays. The real world debrief, let's see where this holds. Understanding the bullwhip effect earns its tuition in 3 major ways. First, it provides a structural explanation for inventory problems. Before I knew about the bullwhip effect, inventory accumulations looked like execution failures. Often your boss will say that, right? After I understood it, I could see that many inventory problems are structural, built into the way the supply chain processes and transmits demand signals. And that changes the intervention. Second, it provides a framework for supply chain redesign. The known root causes bullwhip directly to specific, reduce lead times, share demand data across years, implement continuous ordering, and smooth pricing toward buying. So what we need to stable demand signal when sharing. The bullwhip effect is not a supply chain problem. It's an information problem. The supply chain is just reacting rationally to the wrong data that you are putting into system. Third, the framework provides a way to diagnose supply chain dysfunction with of unneeded data analysis. Ask one question: how does demand variability at the consumer level compare to order variability at the manufacturing level? If orders vary operating room, where does this break down? Here's where the professor sits down and all of us operators stand up. Supply chain theory underestimates 3 practical challenges. Challenge 1. Data sharing is politically difficult. The Bullwhip Effect's primary remedy is sharing point-of-sale demand data upstream through your supply chain. This requires retailers to share proprietary sales data with suppliers, something that violates competitive instincts and requires significant trust and contractual infrastructure. The theory says share the data. The practice says nobody wants to. Challenge 2. The remedies require system-level coordination that is organizationally hard. You cannot fix the bullwhip effect in one tier of the supply chain. You need coordinated behavior change across multiple independent companies with different incentives, measurement systems, and time horizons. Getting one company to change its ordering is hard. Getting 5 to change simultaneously is exponentially harder. The bullwhip effect cured at the system level. Most companies can only manage at the company level. That gap is where the inventory sits. Challenge number 3. Promotions are a commercial necessity that creates supply chain disruption. Pricing variation, one of the 4 root causes, is not just a supply chain design choice. Sales teams run promotions because they work. Finance teams approve them because they move volume. The supply chain bears the demand distortion cost, but they don't control the pricing decisions that create it. This is a cross-functional governance problem wearing a supply chain hat. So let's look at the operator's upgrade. What are 3 moves to reduce the bullwhip impact in your company's supply chain? Move number 1, measure demand signal amplification explicitly. Compare the coefficient of variation of end consumer demand to the coefficient of variation of your production orders. If your orders are more than twice as variable as customer demand, you have a significant bullwhip problem and a quantified target for improvement. Move number 2, reduce order frequency and implement rolling forecasts. Replace monthly order cycles with weekly or continuous replenishment, reducing the batch-induced demand spikes that amplify this throughout the chain. Vendor-managed inventory, giving suppliers access to your inventory levels and letting them replenish, is actually the most effective structural remedy. Move number 3, share demand data, not order data. Every tier in the supply chain should see the point of sale demand, what customers are actually buying, not just the orders coming from the next tier. This is the information that eliminates speculative safety stock accumulation, which causes the entire problem. The Stagnation Assassin verdict here is weaponize it. The Bullwhip Effect framework is a legitimate operational tool. Understanding it explains inventory behaviors that otherwise look random, and it provides a clear map of structural interventions. Every operator managing a supply chain needs to measure demand signal amplification. They need to understand its root cause in their specific context, and they need to systematically implement the remediations that their supply chain relationships make possible. That's the bullwhip effect, the supply chain phenomenon that's costing you cash that you can't see and inventory that you don't need. For more on operational excellence and supply chain performance, grab The Unfair Advantage and Stagnation Assassin on Amazon.com. Follow the Stagnation Assassin show and go to toddhagopian.com for the world's largest stagnation database. Remember, your factory is building inventory for demand that does not exist because your supply chain is amplifying noise into the signal. Fix the information, and you will fix the inventory.